What to do, YouTube? This is Acid Root. So in this particular episode, we return at long last to Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. So eventually, in the next episode, the camera angle will be fixed a little bit better. The particular thing about it here is where the last episode left off, we were in the final dungeon, the ice part of the dungeon, so you do have to fight the 4 bosses over again. I'm not sure if I fought the first one in the previous particular episode, but as far as to how the fare about this is going to particularly go, I'm still going to continue the beef ravioli run, but I'll probably comprise like a number of these episodes. I just don't feel like doing 50-minute episodes, and plus my phone doesn't have the space to be able to do it. So it's just kind of within the concept as far as saying that I'm just going to probably do these at like 8 or 12 minutes at a time, and then just compile them into like a megaton episode later on and continue like the beef ravioli run. But for now, I'm just going to say the beef ravioli run is these short episodes, just within those pitches, but we'll definitely get towards it. So the reason why we're not tackling like the final run of this dungeon is because I realized that fighting all these bosses, you have to fight the 4 bosses that you fought for the crystals, and then after that you have to fight the final boss, and he might have multiple forms. So I definitely feel like I need more seeds, potions, and just heal items and pitches like that more than I currently do. I definitely think I'm just going to stock out the particular supplies here. Now the thing about it is before I was able to really get the seeds, I probably would have showcased like going to another town as far as this first going to happen, but the phone battery not the phone battery, but the phone memory ran out of space. So it's just kind of, I have some other games that I'm doing within pitches like that, so I have to kind of juggle multiple games just with the one phone because the recording setup is just not working on this desktop computer. So it's just within the pitch as far as saying. So if you didn't see what that guy particularly said there, it's just me getting some stuff at an end and pitches like that. Just want to get the blind away from Phoebe as far as those pairs can happen. So it's just within the pitch as far as saying. But yeah, I definitely recommend getting seeds here. It's been a while since I played this game. I think really the last time I messed with this game was probably back in 2022. So pretty much almost approximately 3 years ago from the fair. I mean, I did a few of these like the summer of 2022, but just to say within the pitch, just kind of the fair as far as that goes. So basic concept is getting like the aspects and the tools that are necessary to fight this final dungeon, because it is just like typical type fashions where you have to fight all the bosses like Mega Man type fare or some of those type pitches. So it's just within the tone as far as saying, going to get towards it, see what the offerings about this particularly have. Now once again, I do think I got to the ice dungeon as far as those first going to happen within the last episode, but I just have to say here, I'm just gonna, I don't know if I want to tackle this with knowledge going in or if I want to make this like a blind run. It would probably result in more episodes, but I'm just within fair as far as saying the reality of it is, I suspect the final boss is probably going to take more length of time than I probably have phone memory for. So when I finally do fight the final boss, I suspect it's probably like Lavos from Chrono Trigger where it's going to take a while, but I'm just going to have to say it in essence. If I have to, I will go back and buy like another 50 seeds or something like that. I maxed them out. I got 99 as far as those first going to happen. And like I said, the next episode you will be able to see this text. It was just kind of a concept I didn't realize within the concept that it kind of blocked off some of the television, but it'll be a better angle in the next episode, and really at the end of this particular episode as well, just in the pitch once we get to about the 3-minute 50-second mark. It's just being able to say, yeah, the camera angle will basically restore as far as those fairs can happen. So this is just kind of like a stock type episode, just a recalibration, just in the pitch behind it as far as those fairs can happen. But basically the essence behind it, I do feel like I'll probably have the gumption to be able to tackle the final tower and pitches like that. Now the thing about it is, I might actually do a little bit more beefing up as well, because I'm trying to think as to whether or not level 29 and 34, like I do feel like Phoebe being the higher level might be a little bit strange within the pit, but I just look within the fashion. I might actually tackle some of these battlefield episodes, or some of these battlefields around. So the next one might be a battlefield episode just to get some grind kind of going within the fair behind it. Just look within the pitch. I mean, it may be kind of monotonous, but that's par for the course with some of the stuff on this particular channel as far as those fairs going to happen. So I just look after here. I don't know if I'll tackle the final dungeon is full bound just yet, but I might just in the fair. So stay tuned, subscribe for more fun. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night here, folks. What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. This should be part 11 of the Final Fantasy Mystic Quest Ravioli run as far as this pitch can happen. I mean, either way you look after, it's kind of part 11 of those particular type fairs, because the initial run that I did, or the one that I did from 2021 got sabotaged. The one from 2018 kind of was expanded upon for a few years that became the Ravioli run. So it's just further type aspects within some of this particular type fair. I might compile this one in part 10, some of these type pitches, because part 10 was really only about 3.5-4 minutes, some of those type fairs. So so I might make this like a supersized type 1 later on. Don't hold your breath for it right now, though. I'm probably going to beat the game before I get towards that, but it's just kind of the pitch as far as saying, yeah, I don't know, I just used to really be more beastly within the aspect of doing these particular videos back in 2018, because I really would just do like a 50-minute commentary and then just do it all at once, but there's just, I don't have the patience for that nowadays. But I look after here just being able to say the aspect behind it is don't expect progress in this particular episode. I'm just trying to shore up some levels here for some of these folks. I realize that only the main character is the only one that levels up. Your computer controlled or just party member does not level up, so Phoebe's not going to level up here. But just with the pitch as far as saying, I still feel like maybe level 29 is a little bit light within the concept of tackling the final dungeon. It's not that I couldn't win, but it's just kind of the pitch as far as saying I just want to get the numbers up. It's particularly for completing this battlefield that I'm showing here, all 10 of these fights, you do get the thunder ability. So I think within aspects the game does want you to do the battlefields, because you do get some rewards. And I realize it's going to be kind of scanned if all I do is just use like the bombs or the arrows or whatever to be able to keep attacking these enemies, and it's just the same concept just over and over. So I need to get some of these spells. I don't know if I'll do every last battlefield, but I may at least do a series of these just to be able to get towards it, because we at least get done with this particular battlefield, the 10 fights here. It's just going to be dredge of it, but then I look after it on top of that. I do get decently far in the next battlefield that's also in the volcano area, so it's just going to pitch as far as saying, but yeah, this is just kind of how these type of Final Fantasy games were back in like 91, 92, some of those type of pitches. Just kind of the concept is hella, I mean, you look after, most people say this is hella boring, something like that. This is just, you're putting me to sleep, some of those particular type bears. I look after it. The concept about it is, I mean, I look after it here, it just depends on what happens. I mean, it's not as much, I mean, when you have the extra kind of after effects, obviously with the Spotify years, it just works that much better. If you can go from playing like some tunes, getting like some good music in there, playing like System of a Down, and some of those type ones that just keeps things lively and pitches like that, you know, playing like Limp Bizkit, some of those type folks that just be some good after effects. I'm not really as full bound sure as to what would particularly kind of be full boundedness kind of music for Final Fantasy. Just some pitch, you would think something like Blood on the Dance Floor, or like something that has a little bit more Japanimation kind of in mind within the pitch. But I just look at, I mean, there are folks that just can't designate them within the pitch immediately within the fashion behind it, but you know, like female rappers like Megan Thee Stallion really like, you know, Final Fantasy, that type of stuff is within the pitch. But I look after just being able to say Spotify type music easily, this sort of fare, especially these Ravioli runs within the pitch behind it. I just would have to say the concept about it kind of is here is just being able to order pizza and then just have the whole fare. Now I realize, you know, back in 2018 when I completed most of this game, the concept of it was a little bit more retro within a sense, but I just look after here just being able to say the concept kind of behind it is just important to get this damn game done. I just realized in the past with the fact I do appreciate this game. I wouldn't want folks thinking here within the context of it that I just don't like Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. This is an awesome game, easy enough to say. The thing I said before, at least in one of these episodes from at least 2022 forward, that I said that this game probably would be like a 10 out of 10 for me in terms of the aspect behind it. I mean, it's a basic one, but this is probably, I mean, I think if you cannot beat this game, you probably would not be too big a fan of role-playing games. It's like the most intriguing kind of just gateway type one within the pitch behind it, but I just look after it here. I mean, it is ancient. That's just kind of the concept. It's just one of those type ones that it's just like if you were to ever play the first Final Fantasy for the old Nintendo from the 80s, that one from back in those days, the concept about it is it's very much just like brick and mortar. What you see is what you get, that it is just monotonous to an after effect. I used to own, for the old Game Boy Advance, there was like a Final Fantasy 1 and 2 that they made for that. And it had some of those type of ones, and it's just kind of the pitch that even in that particular game, it's just, they tried to spruce it up and provide like some, like doctorings to kind of make it less monotonous, but just these sorts of games, anything before Final Fantasy VII is just kind of the concept for folks that really like these games. You have to understand that it is, you have to really dissect the night as far as just making it interesting, because it kind of goes from like hardcore to casual pretty quickly. I mean, Final Fantasy VIII doesn't have that problem. I want to say Final Fantasy X in certain senses, Final Fantasy X-2, the one with like like all of Titus's girlfriends, those sorts of pitches, they don't have as much of those problems. The ones for the PlayStation 2 definitely don't, and the ones for like PS3 and some of those type ones. But just looking after these older ones, it's kind of the concept that it's just more in like a hardcore. It's just like pacing yourself to whether or not what, when you have like your chill factor to what's going on with your pals, is that the certain degree as to how much you're gonna have like an anime kind of night. It's just within the pitch as far as saying just whether or not you are gonna watch like One Piece all night or one of those type of ones within some of those type of areas. It's kind of the same pitch, but this is a good game, but it's just kind of the pitch that it just, if you don't have like the juicy kind of personality within the aspect, this can be, it's just one of those ones that you probably fall asleep to. You just have like that buddy that's just playing this until 3 or 4 in the morning, and you just fall asleep on the couch and just with a plate of pizza and a Dr. Pepper or something like. It's just kind of the pitch, but that's just kind of the fair about it. But it's really nothing wrong with this game. I just look within the fair here, but that's just kind of the concept. So, but the problem with it for me is I just don't remember the overworld as far as how to get to some of these type of places. I just look after it here. The main, like a certain kind of annoyance is just that overworld tower that's to where you get to all the crystal areas within those pitches. I always forget the way around within that particular area. That's another form of the monotony here, is you have to, there's no like warp functions to this. In certain senses, I guess in certain aspects it has in like in a minor sense, but you really do have to go through the trudge of just walking through the overworld to get to the places that you need to go through. If you do have to go back to like the volcano town or the snow town, some of those type of places, or the forest town, some of those type of places, it's kind of the aspect that you do have to kind of trudge through it. So this is kind of the fair, but I just look after here just being able to say. So I want to do some more of these battlefields. I think if I were to go back to the ones at the beginning of the game, it probably would just be like clockwork, kind of easy within the pitch behind it. But I just look after here. I'm just trying to figure out. I probably should do some of the tougher ones and probably gain more experience, because I noticed that like my character's zone didn't really level up within the pitch behind it. So it's just kind of the fair as far as saying that. Yeah, I realized that all I'm really doing is just wasting bombs and ammo and some of those type pitches. I'm going to have to restock on bombs, because I think even with having 99 bombs, I still would probably say within the aspect of it that I probably will need quite a few multifaceted gallery of attacks to be able to fight, like especially the final boss. I don't remember. I have watched this game on a playthrough at least once or twice, not commonly, but it's probably been since like at least 2014 or 2013 since I've really watched this game thoroughly. I know Capri Sun did this game. I know like a few other folks have, but in terms of like just a standard playthrough, HC Bailey, some of those type of folks, but just within the pitch as far as saying, I just look after within the tone, just within the aspect as far as those pitches kind of happen. It's just kind of the tone that just being able to say, you just would look after it here. There's just like a certain like flair about this game. So yeah, that's the concept. So subscribe for more fun. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night. We'll get to more of these. There'll probably be another experience run. What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. In this particular episode, this will be part 12 of the Ravioli run as far as what's first going to happen. So basically, this is just a mindless kind of droning episode just for the pitch. It's kind of more for white noise that I'd say within the fair behind it. There might be a little bit of interesting type fair here, but just kind of stacking up some grinding pitches like that. I realized just kind of the concept of it. I realized that probably at the stage I'm at, I think within the fashion behind it, just stocking up on a few more items and pitches like that, I could probably just go ahead and tackle the final dungeon. But it's just a little bit to beefing up the playlist a little bit, just give it a little bit more venom towards it. I look after it here. I would look after it. Certain folks, when you talk about role-playing games, some of those type pitches, Final Fantasy games, some folks like them to be beaten within a quicker type fashion, but I don't know how I feel about that particular concept as far as like a Final Fantasy game that's supposed to be like, in terms of like a person that knows what they're doing on YouTube, it being like a 10-hour or 12-hour kind of excursion. I look after it. I don't know. I feel like this kind of stretching it out a bit is to have like the concept here as far as what's going to happen, just kind of within the pitch, just getting the levels up a little bit more. I realize that the party member that's not the main character zone, as he's known in this game, is never going to level up. So it's kind of within the pitch of just mindless kind of grinding to kind of get towards the pitch. But really with these enemies, this is kind of a stage in the game. I want to say this is like the third crystal. The ice crystal was the second one. The sand crystal was the first one. So this is one pitch. This is the third out of the 4 of them. So this is actually deeper in the game than I have remembered in the past. But this is kind of the pitch. I'm just surprised these enemies are not given more kind of experience. I probably need to be more towards like that particular kind of Windbird. I forget what the name of that particular boss was, but I remember doing that like a few years ago. It was just going to pitch as far as saying Like, some of those enemies, I didn't really do those battlefields back in the day either, so it's just when the pitch is far down, I'm just stacking up some of these, so I don't know how many more of these grind episodes are going to happen here, but it's just kind of the concept. I would just kind of have this on for just the sake of white noise and some of those type of pitches. I mean, in terms of, like, something notifiable within the pitch, if you're looking for, like, something on, like, this acidic roots type tip, something like that, that would kind of be within the pitch, which really, I mean, that particular YouTube channel, the main channel that is associated with this one, is just kind of more droning as well within the pitch. It's not really as if there's really any like extra treats or goodies going on within those aspects, but I just look after it's just the same sort of pitch. Like Reggie's birthday is coming up, so it's within the pitch as far as talking about that. I guess that's something I could talk about there. Is just he's going to be 4 in May, so it's kind of the pitch as far as saying, and it is May, but just to say his birthday is like in mid-late May, so May 17th is his birthday as far as those first going to happen. So he's going to be 4. It's a pretty good pitch, just realizing that the spin-off saga of Acidic Roots is 4 years ago, just within those conducts as far as those first going to happen. Just exactly 4 years ago, still technically year 6 of Acidic Roots, but I look after here just being able to say that the spin-off saga briefly roped up just a year ago as far as those pitch kind of happens. So it's just within the fair. But yeah, I just look after here, so kind of the conduct of it, just same dronings, pitches like that. I just have to say within the aspect, just not much terribly real noteworthy kind of going on. Just the news, kind of the same sort of pitch, but just looking after it like. So yeah, I mean, this game is a blast to play. I look after here. I mean, this is the sort of concept when folks kind of talk about in certain senses how it's like talked about as if like golden years of video games are kind of ending and pitches like that. Certain aspects, depending upon who you talk to, say that games are just never going to be as good as they were. Some folks feel like the 90s were the best for video games. Some folks feel like the 2000s. Some folks even feel like the 2010s. But I don't know. I just question by the time we get to like the 2030s that folks are going to really miss like the 2020s, because this is like the era of like, you know, you would say microtransactions and like downloadable content and updates that you have to do in order to play the game, the more digital type era. I mean, it's just kind of a hate it or leave it, you know, take it or leave it type aspect within some of these type of fairs. But I mean, to me, this game is, you know, Mystic Quest is a definite classic here. This is just an easy kind of time burner, kind of get within the tones, but it is frustrating. I mean, for people nowadays, I mean, the concept behind playing like a role-playing game like this one, that's fashioned like this one, but just in like 2020, or probably even I would say as far back as like 2017. I mean, games just don't typically have like this sort of frustration. They just make the games longer now. But I mean, these games were they were gorgeous within the concept, and by that I mean the pitch as far as saying just the aspects of like the fundamentals of it, just within the pitch as far as saying that this is what you had to do. I mean, it gets really droning. It's just with an aspect as far as saying that. It just really drones on. You have to fight these same enemies. Just looking within this battlefield, we fought these Komodo dragon-like dudes like 10, 15 times, some of those type of aspects, but it's just kind of the tone as far as saying you just look after it. It's just kind of like the concept of it just is kind of it's just monotonous. It's just kind of, I mean, there's a lot of Super Nintendo games, like probably like the 3rd or 4th Super Nintendo game I've played within the past 3 or 4 years, probably since like the early 2020s, where I've realized that there was a lot of monotony about these games back in the day. And I just question how many folks within like games nowadays have like that tolerance for certain kinds of monotony. So we are going to do some other stuff. I'm going to kind of hop in the town because I wanted to see if I could buy some bombs. I think you actually have to go to the dungeons to get restocked on those. So I don't know. I'm probably not going to do that because I'm just not going to wander around dungeons for 50 minutes just trying to find 30 bombs within those packagings, but I don't know what I'll do within those aspects to get those back. Just would have to kind of say, I just figured I could buy them. I mean, you'd think you'd be able to buy them in the towns. I mean, I think if you know folks that know this game like the back of their hand, they'd say, but you can at least get seeds here, which is pretty good, but I really don't, I mean, considering that I last played these particular areas of this game back in 2018, I mean, the wind areas with like the wind bird and like the walking tree and some of those type of things I played back in 2022, but it's been, you know, either 7 or 4 years ago since I played a lot of this game, but I just don't remember it as much. I mean, it really just has to do with me just questioning whether or not I can get to like a further level within some of those type of aspects. It's whether or not I want to get to level 30 or 32, or I'm maybe not 32, but just the aspect of just shoring up some of these battlefields, seeing if I can get any other magic kind of spells, pitches like that, like thunder. I just question because because I want to say there's a lot more spells to get in this damn game. This is in the pitch behind it. Some of them might be in dungeons, just in treasure chest pitches like that, but I think other ones just are within the battlefields. I mean, I'm not going to unlock everything in this game. I realize that there's some stuff that, just at least in my playthrough, is not going to be shown as full bound, but this is in the pitch as far as saying that I am at least going to try to shore up some of these battlefields just within the fair behind it. So this is kind of the concept as far as saying, I don't know how many more of these. This is really only like the second kind of grind episode within those fairs. I would look after it pretty much like, I want to say with like the beefier episodes where I did those back in the original Ravioli run that I was talking about that kind of had them in like the 50-minute essences. I think I got to like 7 or 8 of those, so this might be part of the 9th one. But considering that most of these playthroughs have been about 8 minutes, it's kind of with the pitch. I think I'm probably up to about 24 minutes. I think maybe possibly like the 9th one or the 8th one, whichever one I was on, could be just like this grind episode. It'd be pretty monotonous, but it's just kind of the pitch of just getting like the spells here worth what to do. So it's just basically an episode to just munch on nachos, pitches like that, have some of those type tangents, you know, go get some food, wait, you know, do all these sorts of things, just you know, just play darts, whatever the hell's going on. The standard pitches like that. It's kind of essence of waiting for the pizza guy to show up at your house. Some of those type pitches. It's kind of monotony within the aspect behind it, but just easy kind of phone check type stuff. Hop on Twitter, some of those type aspects. Know your memes, some of those type places to be able to check in with some stuff as far as those fairs gonna have. So it's just the pitch within it. But I probably will. I'm trying to figure out. I don't know how many more of these grind episodes are gonna happen. But I might do more of these, just depending upon the essence of it. The last one was pretty popular, so it's just one pitch as far as saying. But I look after here, so subscribe for more fun. Part 13 of like, we'll get to more of these, just in other words. What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So this is part 13 of the beef ravioli playthrough as far as this is going to happen. So this is another frustrating type episode, at least watching it from like the normal type fare. Eventually when I pack this on, it's like the actual beef ravioli episode that's going to be like 45 or 50 or so minutes. I'd say it'll probably have a little bit, well, it probably will be just as frustrating because probably the first 35 or 40 minutes of the episode will probably not be that much progress, but I just want to get some more grind action. The main character's zone does level up in this particular episode, so some good type pitches to be able to get that here. Just me looking after within the fair. But the next episode, I did do some off-camera kind of grinding. I got the arrow spell, which is basically just like one particular off to the wayside treasure chest that's just kind of within the appeal. I forget where it's at, but I think it basically just has to do with like one of like the caverns or something like that. I don't remember its full balance. Just with the page. It's really, you just have to fight one particular series of enemies. That's really about it. It's not like you're missing much. But I look after it here. It's within the 4 months. I did that off camera after particularly completing this gameplay episode was within the pitch. So basically what I did, I figured the concept what I probably could have done, and it probably would have taken more time. I just questioned how many more episodes that particularly needs to happen within this particular fair. I could have shown like myself getting like the arrows again for Phoebe and being able to get like the bombs again for Zone, some of those type pitches, and you know going to the inn and like getting the seeds and the potions and the cure the cure spells and the refreshers and some of those type pitches. I just looked at the aspect as far as saying that it probably would have eaten up like half an episode. That I just felt like let's just get towards it, get to the final dungeon, get to the gritty of the game as far as what's going to happen now. Particularly, I don't know how necessary. I mean, you do get like the occasional odds and ends as far as what's pitch going to happen with some of these type of ones from completing the battlefields, but I don't know how necessary it is to actually complete every last one. It's within the pitch. I realize within certain formats it can kind of happen, but it's not like you unlock any real new dialogue or pitches like that. So the concept of it, and really just me thinking about it, I was particularly thinking, I mean, this game is particularly kind of basic in terms of like the dialogue within it. I mean, you know, obviously there's Final Fantasy games and folks and similar type games like Chrono Trigger and Secret of Evermore that have a little bit more chattiness just particularly about them. It's just in the pitch as far as saying it's just some good type fare. This one's just pretty straightforward. I feel like this is like the gateway type one within the pitch behind it. It's very much ripped out of like 80s type style, this within the pitch behind it, but a lot of these just have that classic feel, but it is time eating. I feel like the aspect behind it, this is just like one of those type games that would be played back in like the early 90s just within those fairs. That was pretty much something that you could play from like 8 o'clock p.m. until like 3 or 4 in the morning and still have like another 25 or 30 hours left to play, just not in one day, but just with consecutive days within the appeal. Now obviously within the pitch behind it, you know, it just kind of blends the aspect. I mean, I realize the factor behind it, thinking like the casual type factor about this game is not as superbly kind of high compared to like Final Fantasy 8 or possibly Final Fantasy Fantasy X, and within senses Final Fantasy VII, some of those type pitches, but it's just kind of the format as far as saying it does have the appeal. But I just look within it, it's just retro. It's this kind of aspect as far as what's going to happen. I look within the tone. I definitely would say this game is a pretty good gem, just within the appeal behind it as far as what's going to happen. It has its moments, just within the pitch, just the aspects of just particularly getting towards it, just some good particular flares as to how as it goes. But this is back when you would see commercials for video games on television. I mean, I can't think of how many times just flipping on, like, if you live in America, flipping on television channels like ABC or CNN or some of those type of ones. I mean, obviously more than just the news channels, but there's places where you'd have television. Really, this is not a game that would probably be on MTV or VH1 or anything like that. Music more oriented type channels wouldn't be on HGTV or Home and Garden type places. The Life channel, the Animal Planet channel, some of those type pitches probably wouldn't be on Sci-Fi. Some of those, I just look within the aspect as far as just being able to suppose and stuff. It's just the aspect that, I don't know. For the most part, YouTube is pretty much the place. And even then, on YouTube, you don't really see terribly many games being advertised. I mean, I'll admit that I have seen the new Mario Kart game. That's one pitch that I've particularly seen. Apparently, I mean, just looking within the pitch, just within the pitch as far as saying that, like, Mario Kart, and I'm just kind of dicking around as far as those particular formats having with it, but yeah, the new Mario Kart game has been popping up within pitches like that, so I would say, like, I think the Switch 2 is really gearing up within some of those type pitches. I'm questioning how that's going to particularly happen within some of those type fairs. It's going to be interesting to kind of get that, but yeah, within the pitch as far as saying, apart from, like, that particular Mario Kart game, I would pretty much have to say it seems like just the concept of some of these next type ones that are being talked about is just pretty uncommon. I look after it, and I don't even know what really happened to Final Fantasy. There was a time for a while there. I don't know if Final Fantasy has kind of lost its cool factor or something like that, but they just don't really super commonly talk about those games. That's definitely a game. I don't know why, it just feels like they cannot make like a Final Fantasy character as cool as Cloud or like Squall again as far as this pitch can have. I think that's the particular type factor. They need to do that. I mean, I just look at the pitch. I really can't think of terribly any real game character that really, like, I think the Fortnite series, I don't know who the main character of Fortnite is, but it'd be a good concept to get like some character, something like that, when you think of like Tommy Vercetti or Dante or the Kratos dude from God of War, some of those particular type folks. Solid Snake from like the Metal Gear Solid series. I feel like the particular concept about it, they need some of those type folks. It's just kind of within the fashion that I realize that Final Fantasy's kind of been around within the pitch, but it's just kind of the format that just between that and not seeing like these games advertised on YouTube. And that's the thing, within the fashion, I do occasionally pop in like some of those type of playthroughs on YouTube as far as what's going to happen. I'll watch like the occasional like Super Mario All-Stars or one of those type ones, one of those type games just within the fashion behind it, Contra, something like that, just within the appeals. But I just, even consistently when I find someone who's monetized, I do not happen to find like particular games that just are really advertised just on particular YouTube. And you'd think YouTube being the #2 website in the world, which if you didn't know, YouTube's the #2 website in the world. #1 is Google, but it's just within the pitch as far as saying that it's just not within the fashion. So particularly the rest of this episode is going to be somewhat of a waste, just because I kind of get lost. Now I do a tougher Battlefield. I want to see if there were like some later ones. I possibly thought about doing some more of these, but it's just within the fashion as far as saying it just felt like it was getting kind of aimless. Because yeah, if you notice that Zone particularly leveled up as far as what's going to happen, but it doesn't really seem worth it to I look after the fairs here, it doesn't seem worth it to kind of have this particular keeping on of aimless grinding as far as this. It's not like it couldn't happen. I realize the concept about it is it's pretty much not within the healthy aspect to be in a hurry when playing a Final Fantasy game. Since the pitch as far as trying to particularly kind of get to some of those fairs, so it's just within the pitch that, yeah, I would just say to have that particular pizza company or your nearby pizza shop just on speed dial within some of those type pitches, just get some of them. Obviously Pizza Hut, Domino's if you live in America, and pitches like that, just local shop, other places, Australia and Asia and some of these type places, Europe, Africa, some of these type places, South America. It's just within the pitch as far as saying, just within the fashion of it, but it's just within the aspect here as far as trying to get towards it. So it's basically, I kind of feel like within the fashion, I don't think that Zone's going to get to too much of many more higher levels past level 30 as far as those aspects going to happen. He might get to 31, 32, but Vivi's never going to level up within some of those type pitches, so it's just basically the concept of how much experience I'm going to get within some of these. But hopefully it's just within a relative kind of fair of just being able to get that done, because particular kind of conduct about this is, I do realize that this game has been on stretching for quite some time. I don't know what it is about Final Fantasy games. I always say I'm going to beat these games, and in most fashions, they're really not that terribly difficult to kind of do. It's just the fashion that, I don't know if it just has to do with the attention span, or just the product of just it being frustrating to the point where I just don't like sitting still. It's just the fashion. I mean, I embark on these games, but even when I watch movies, I mean, it's just nowadays when I think of movies, I don't know how, when you think of folks within those aspects, particularly when you see the end of the movie, that, I don't know, this movie endings in a lot of senses are cheesy. I mean, even if you say that these folks, they get the girl at the end of the movie, the pitch is like that, as far as this foremost going to happen, but it's just the conduct of saving the world within those particular type fairs, and then everyone believes the hero after the end of the movie because you saved the world. They thought he was joking and full of hot air at the beginning of the movie, but when he saves the world, then everyone's just kind of like, oh, I see your point of view now, hero. It's just kind of the pitch as far as saying you just look after it. It's just kind of the pitch that, I don't know, I mean, somehow Hollywood within certain senses manages to make it where it's not an eye roll type fashion, but still the pitch as far as saying this is kind of the format of it is certain senses kind of cheesy, but I mean, there are movies that I'll watch, you know, like Harold and Kumar, just because that's a stoner flick. That's a good, nice one. Kind of, I do fuck with at least Harold and Kumar go to White Castle. First two Rush Hours pretty good. I own at least Rush Hour 3. It's not super common. I watched that one, but that is another nice one. Some of those type movies, trying to think of some other ones, particularly comedies within the fashion. You know, Liar Liar is a classic. The Jim Carrey from the 90s, but. I know I could go on a pretty aimless movie rant within some of those type fashions, but there's just some ones there. You just look within the pitch as far as saying, probably some of those Brendan Fraser movies are pretty good. The Chris Farley ones, obviously. Adam Sandler between like 94 and 1999 or so, up to Big Daddy. I mean, he had way other ones, but just in the pitch, a lot of those. Big Daddy was bombastic. Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, The Wedding Singer, some of those type pitches. There's one that he did with the Wayans brother. I think it was like Bulletproof, something like that. Those are some good ones. Obviously, Jackie Chan movie. But yeah, just in the pitch as far as saying, I don't know, I need to get back to watching Bulletproof Monk as well. That's a pretty good movie. I was thinking about that not too long ago, just the pitch. It's kind of what that particular fair could have. I was going to watch that movie, just never got around to it. Probably won't, it's just within the fashion, but it is a good movie. It's just kind of within the pitch. But I look after just within the tone, so just being able to say some good type fashions within aspects. But yeah, this particular fair of this game is just endless grinding as far as this format's going to happen with it, just within the particular format, getting towards it. So yeah, the next episode is going to be, and it'll probably be tacked on to the Beef Ravioli episode part 9 as far as this fair's going to happen with it. Just getting to the initial moments. I'm not going to fight every single enemy probably on screen if I have to do all the beginning parts again, but we will get past the snow part and be able to get to towards some of these type pitches and get these last segments of the final dungeon done. Well, just going on YouTube, this is Acid Roots. So this is part 14 to the Mystic Quest playthrough as far as this first going to happen in the Beef Ravioli run. Now, the actual thing about it is, I'm saying it's part 14, but the pitch behind it, when I combine like these past series of episodes into like the Megaton episode that comprises like the Beef Ravioli mix, it's probably going to be like part 9 or part 10. I don't remember which one I was on back in 2022, but it's within the pitch of it. So yes, we are at the final dungeon, the snow part of the stage as far as this pitch can happen. So we're fighting boss 2 of 5, basically the pitch behind it, having to fight the main 4 bosses that guarded the crystals throughout the game one additional time. But the thing I noticed about the pitch behind it, I don't remember what happened when I fought like the Bone Dungeon boss. I think he had a different name as well, but particularly it's not a snow golem this particular time. When we get to this boss later on in the episode, it's actually like a stone golem. So it's just in the pitch as far as saying they enhanced it so you can't just use like the fire attack and be able to maul the particular boss. It's just in the pitch. So basically the rendition these particular boss characters here is they're a little bit tougher, obviously, within the pitch behind it, but it's just kind of the fair that I mean, I did actually get some game overs within some of these type of aspects. Now, the thing about it was my phone ran out of space. This is a little bit lengthier an episode than what I've been doing for like the normal type pitch, but usually these have been about 8 or 9 minutes. This one was going to be a little bit longer than 11 minutes, or approximately 11 minutes, but the pitch behind it was just within the fair as far as saying that my phone ran out of space. Now, luckily, the thing about it was I didn't realize that particular concept until I had really tore into the boss, but the good news is that I did not beat the stone golem before realizing realizing that my phone was out of space. It's just a pitch as far as saying that would have been probably pretty annoying if I had done that, because I probably would have had to reset the machine or something like that. I mean, luckily I did save before attempting that boss, but this is within the pitch as far as saying. I mean, sometimes, within those pitches, you just would have to say within the format that those are kind of real bastard of events when you save. That's what sabotaged the Mystic Quest playthrough I did back in 2021. Was just the fashion that I did not have a save file, or I saved over some sort of fashion that happened within the sabotage of it, and I don't want to deal with that again. Definitely, the other two save files that I have are way back. You would say, well, why don't you just save to like 3 different files? But I don't know, it's just like a complete backup data type copy. But I realized within the pitch as far as saying that I think something I remember about this game that I did back in 2022 when I was playing this is just the format as far as saying that you do have to go on the ghost ship and kind of rescue, I think it's like Captain Mac or something like that. I mean, they talked about that character throughout the whole game as far as what's supposed to happen. Rescuing Captain Mac to get the boat ship to be able to sail to this particular dungeon was just in the pitch that you do have to rescue him. That was probably one of the more kind of obscure type tangents within this game. That was one of the more segments that was actually a little bit more kind of like dredging within the concept kind of it, just in the aspect kind of it. It's just within the pitch as far as saying that's particular. I mean, most of the dungeons in this game are not as much. I mean, they do have the puzzle aspects about them, but it's just more the dredge of just fighting like multiple bosses and this typical kind of role-playing game type of just kind of grind type fare within the pitch behind. But that particular fare had a little bit more aspects about it as far as just figuring stuff out as far as getting stuck or something like that. So it's just on the pitch as far as saying, maybe just questioning like the concept. But yeah, so basically after this particular episode, or the next episode, the particular format, I beat the stone golem in the next episode, which is not going to be attached. I could have made it attached, but like I said, I don't like really making episodes on this channel much longer than 15 minutes. So they're pretty much going to range somewhere between like 6, 7, 8 minutes and like 14 and a half minutes, somewhere in there. Somewhere relatively in there within the pitch. But it's just kind of the form. So these puzzles, within the concept, these are just, trite type puzzles within the pitch, but it's not like I'm complaining about that. It's just within the fair as far as saying. But it's just good aspect. I mean, this game has a great balance to it. That's the thing I like about this game is even what's probably more trying about this game is just the redundancy factor more so than anything else. I mean, it's just the pitch as far as saying that I think folks would probably be like, if you get a game over, it actually doesn't have that foul nature to game over. If you get a game over, you don't have to restore from where you saved. You just get the option. I mean, I don't think your items get restored if you use a whole bunch, like if you use a whole bunch of potions and things like that, but it's just kind of within the pitch as far as saying that you do just get to start right from where the boss fight kind of particularly happened. Just in some of those types of affairs. So it's just good type pitch as far as doing that. But obviously, it does ask you every time you lose if you want to give up. If you give up the fight, then you do go back to the save point. But it's just in the pitch as far as saying it's just the format as far as this fair is going to happen. But it's kind of an interesting type function, kind of get that in the game as far as saying that you have the option where you don't really get a game over. It gives you as many chances as you want. But if the reality of it is that you're just never going to win, it's just easier to give up because you can go and get more items and things like that. But just kind of as a fashion as far as that's an interesting type pitch as far as this fair is going to go. But yeah, but most of these fights are just simple enough within the pitch. So I realize that it doesn't say. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Another particular area that I do remember kind of was a gripe for me that probably would piss me off nowadays. I mean, despite the fact that I played through the Wind Tower area 3 years ago, I think it would probably piss me off to play through that particular area again within some of those type pitches. I just had to say it'd be the format kind of amongst it. So I just had to say it's going to be interesting to get to that later. Just fighting like that Pazuzu boss, the wind bird as far as this is going to happen, just being able to say as to what's going to happen there, just kind of within the formatting of like wondering what I get the feeling that's the penultimate boss in the game, because I think the last boss is like the Dark King as far as this is going to happen. It's just within the pitch as far as saying, but I just question. I do remember the dragon boss from the volcano being pretty annoying as well. I mean, I did that one back in 2018. Was just in the pitch as far as saying it's just going to be interesting to get towards that, because basically there's just 3 more boss fights than that virtually takes care of it. But this did kind of get me tricked as far as those formats going to happen. Basically, after I beat the boss in the next episode, I didn't know what to do. All you have to do is just leave the area, and then the area is unlocked, which I didn't realize. I thought it just would open up a door, and you just would go through it like a typical type game within the format. So that's just kind of the pitch. So But yep. The standard type fare here within some of these type formats within the aspect kind of it. I just look after here, just being able to say you should just have goodies nearby, probably burning through like a couple bags of Doritos, pitches like that. It's just kind of the format, just good, easy kind of after hours games within the pitch behind it, and then some of those type fares, just kind of. I mean, this is I do feel like this is kind of a drowsy type game just in the format of it. It's a shame that there was never like any sort. I mean, I think the pitch behind it, when you pay attention to like these sorts of games, this was just kind of. I mean, this is a Final Fantasy type game, but it's just within the pitch as far as saying and stuff that it just kind of feels like. I mean, I like these sorts of one-shot type games, kind of similar. This is kind of like Chrono Trigger, but just a little bit more basic. It's just kind of the format amongst that, just kind of something. I think these sorts of things need to happen. This would be a good game to kind of get within some of those type of aspects, as far as having something extra to kind of have within like. This is the sort of game that I think. I mean, I don't know like the pitch of what's going on with like the PS5, Nintendo Switch, or Switch 2, some of those type ones that are going along with it. But I feel like this is a good type game to be able to get. I mean, I think. Obviously, there's like some sort of game I've heard about, like Xenogears or something within that particular type of saga. It's really like when you talk to folks and say, well, what's the role-playing game? You know, they're not really, you know, with like the creator Dragon Ball, Toriyama not being, I mean, he's recently deceased, if you didn't know, definite RIP to him within some of those type formats, but just in the pitch as far as saying, like, in terms like those ones, like when you think of Final Fantasy and some of those type of games, it's just not as much full-bound kind of pitch as far as like the talk of the town, the belle of the ball, as far as those formats can happen, which is just kind of strange, because, you know, you look after it, obviously, like Chrono Trigger's the Bomb Diggity, some of those type of ones, but there's just not offshoots to some of those. I feel like Final Fantasy just doesn't have the same bite that it did, and that's strange, because these games, I mean, you fuck with this game, it's just like, this is dope as hell. You just would definitely have to say it's the same sort of thing. Final Fantasy 4 is dope as hell. Final Fantasy 6 is probably a superbly excellent game, just brilliant game there. Final Fantasy 7, obviously, for the PlayStation is real excellent. Final Fantasy 8 is real excellent, some of those type of ones. But the ones, these old-fashioned type ones, are really dope as hell within some of those type of formats. Just being able to get towards it, you just have to stay within the aspect kind of it. But yeah, so definitely when talking about the game here, as far as these fares, you want to use like an attack like the white spell. This works best. I mean, I realize it's kind of basic and it's not going to be too inventive as far as seeing other attacks and stuff, but the thing about this particular fare is these characters can get one-shot pretty quickly. That stone golem is actually pretty damn strong within the pitch behind us. This is the fare that you want to get rid of, like his sub-dudes, as far as those pitch can happen, just being able to say he can knock out Phoebe, who doesn't level up in pretty quick fashion, and that's not good. I mean, it seems like the main character can't get confused, which is definitely a good thing. I mean, as long as you have the item, but if Phoebe gets confused, and then the main character, which Zone, I'll call him Zone because it's just a bitch, Zone gets knocked out, you just would have to say it just happens just like it happened right there. So you have to say, you do kind of have to relatively heal, but the fashion behind it, you don't get a lot of warnings. That's kind of why I wanted to level up a little bit, is just to have to where I couldn't be one-shotted just within pitch as far as those fares going to happen. But it's just the pitch. I question if some of these bosses do wind up pissing me off, and I realized I'm just getting game overs and using up all my items and seeds and some of those type of formats, I may go back and grind Zone to like at least 31, 32, something like that. I mean, it just would be more standard fares. It would really be kind of haphazard within pitch. It's not like I'd have to do that much within the format, because once you beat the boss characters, you don't have to do it again. But it's just in the pitch as far as saying it might be some extra type fare. Not really as full bound certain, but I just can't predict how tough these later on bosses are going to be. We're halfway done with like the series of bosses here, but there is the Dark King at the very end, some of those type fares. But it's just in the pitch as far as saying that's the concept of it here, folks. So subscribe for more fun. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night, and just stick to your goodies, pitches like that. There's some more of these on the way as far as this fair is going to go. What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So this is part 15 of the beef ravioli run as far as this fair is going to happen. So in this particular episode, we defeat the stone golem and get towards the further concepts of the game. So it's not going to really particularly happen in this episode, because I do get kind of stuck after defeating this boss here. But it's just kind of the pitch as far as saying in the next episode we are going to get to like the volcano area, which is probably going to have the new. it's going to be the same dragon boss, but I'm not sure as to what variation of it it's going to wind up being. It's just going to pitch as far as saying. So in the previous episode, the gameplay ran out because my phone ran out of space, but particularly it was just another 3 or 4 or so minutes of just like fighting this boss, and the boss wound up winning as far as those players going to have with this. So it's just good Titanic defeating this here. But this was kind of a tougher boss as far as those players going to win. Now, I imagine that the Dark King, within a certain sense, is why I stocked up on 99 seeds and 99 potions, all that good stuff, just because the pitch, just in case of any sort of trickery. Because I think for the format, this game kind of assumes that most people are probably not going to level up to level 99. I think it just would be too much of a cakewalk. I can imagine the concept if like the zone character did actually get to even probably level 50 or 60, something like that. I think he'd probably knock out this particular boss, just supposing you have like the fluidity to want to do the grind work. I mean, it definitely has the format. I think there's enough of these battlefields, but the thing about it is like it really doesn't even feel like within the fair like the battlefields are really gonna. I mean, it just would pretty much be endless grind. I think if I were to do every battlefield, all 10 of the fights in each of these that are left within the game as to how they happen, I really think Zone would probably only get to maybe 32 or 33 if he was lucky within the pitch behind. I just would have to say it's just kind of the format that. Supposing that the your final party member, the highest stage that she gets to is just 34. It's kind of within the pitch as far as saying, but I mean it's just within the typical type fair. I mean you just look after it, so it's just the pitch as far as saying. But yeah, you have to be very particular about fighting this boss here, just because the aspect behind it is just the fact that he can pummel, because Phoebe cannot level up. It's kind of the concept of you're not careful, it can pretty much, it only would probably take 2 turns for him to wipe out Phoebe, and if like there's some sort of like aspect where the main character's Zone has to heal or something like that, it's kind of within the format as far as saying that you can find yourself with only one party member within a relative quickness. Just the fashion is just, it really is that simple to get wiped out within this particular game as far as those first games. So I really question what these next 2 boss fights after this are going to be, because I realize, I mean, from what I don't remember the dragon fight from 2018 as much full bound. I do, like from what I briefly remember, that was kind of a pain in the ass as far as those players going to win, but I think probably it may take a little bit lengthier, but I think within the pitch it should be relatively simple enough. But I do remember the Wind Tower boss, and that one's probably going to be relatively annoying if it has like the same format that it did in like the Stone. I'm hoping that it's not going to be within the format of having to, like, however that was where you could only fight him on like level 3. I don't remember how that particular one, there was like a certain way you couldn't just attack him normally, you had to do some sort of magic or something like that. There's like some sort of rhythm to how you had to fight that boss, and I don't know how that's going to happen when we get to that. It's just interesting stuff. This is entirely new to me within these fashions. I did at least watch this playthrough. Like I think I've watched like, you know, either like Newfie Bonga or like Nintendo, you know, Capri Sun, some of those types of people who played through some of these types of games with an aspect within certain senses, but it's just kind of the pitch as far as saying I just don't remember it. It's probably been since like, you know, 2012, 2014, some of those type of years within the pitch. Just not as, I mean, this is a game that I return to within a certain sense, but it's just kind of the aspect I have some degree of memories, but not as complex. It's a very secondary game to me within those pitches within the formats. I mean, obviously the main staples, like when you think of like Super Mario for the Super Nintendo, and you know some of the Donkey Kong games, and you know like Chrono Trigger, some of those type ones within the format of it. But this is you know the Super Nintendo Zelda, some of those type pitches within the format. It's just kind of the format as far as saying that there's a little bit more here and there, but I mean this is a banner enough game. I'd say within the pitch, just within, I mean in a casual type fashion, you'd have to say within the pitch it kind of has like. This is not Final Fantasy VIII within those pitches. You're not going to be quoting this dude as far as saying, like, you know, when you think of some of those one-liners that, like, Cloud or Squall, some of those type folks would kind of have, where it just has that edge factor, but it is a good enough type pitch. Not like this is a bad game whatsoever, you just have to stay within the format. But I look after it. This is a briefer type episode, because I beat the boss sooner than I thought I was going to, but I just didn't know what to do here. I was trying to figure it out as far as those pairs going to happen. All you have to really do is just leave this area right here, and then it would have been taken care of. So, this is snappy type one within the pitch behind. I was thinking, I mean, you would think it would have been the format as far as just exiting the ice area and just climbing up like the tower as far as this pitch can happen. I don't know why you had to exit the area and go back to having to go back to all the puzzles again just to get to the. I don't know why they did that. That's one thing about role playing games. Some role playing games, when you're in like a dungeon where you fight a boss, they will require you to leave the dungeon as far as those players that happen. And, you know, in some cases, I mean, shout out to the people who actually beat the boss but then die on, like, the grinding tangents because they use all their potions or Phoenix Downs or something like that. And then it just is kind of the format as far as saying that they just didn't have, like, enough equipment to exit the dungeon. I mean, and of course, if you don't save, I mean, it's just the fashion. That can be really nightmarish to have to do a fight that really took a lot out of you within those first. So you get the concept of what I mean. But some games like Final Fantasy will make you have to, you know, I mean, it's part of the work. I mean, yeah, I think it teaches, like, effort within those pitches, but it can piss you off in certain tangents if you're not with that concept. It's this kind of repetition, but I look after it. So as the pitch behind, so snappy type episode within the format, there's going to be more of these. I'm going to get some of these more recorded than some of those type fairs. We'll see how these later bosses turn out, but subscribe for more fun. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night, folks. Stay tuned for some more of these type ones and such.